Have you ever shared something personal online, only to feel that unsettling wave of regret wash over you moments later? That sinking feeling when you realize your private information might now be in the wrong hands. In today's hyper-connected world, the line between public and private has become dangerously blurred. Every day, millions of people unknowingly expose their most sensitive information, putting themselves at risk of identity theft, financial fraud, and personal security breaches. Has this ever happened to you? That moment when you shared something seemingly innocent, only to discover later how it could be weaponized against you? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world, and if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. The digital footprints we leave behind are permanent, and in the wrong hands, they become the perfect tools for those with malicious intent. What you're about to discover might surprise you, even shock you, about how the smallest details you share can create the biggest vulnerabilities in your life. As Neville Goddard wisely observed, your wealth is first created in your mind, but must be protected in the physical world. This profound insight extends beyond just money. It encompasses everything of value in your life that requires protection from prying eyes and ill intentions. Your financial information, from account numbers to investment strategies, represents not just numbers on a screen, but your security, your future, and your peace of mind. Stay with me until the end of this video, because understanding these privacy principles could be the difference between maintaining control over your life and having that control stripped away by strangers with keyboards and malicious intent. Consider your personal identification details. These documents and numbers that seem so mundane, yet hold extraordinary power. They are, quite literally, the keys to your existence in modern society. Your identity documents represent years of carefully built personal records, professional achievements, and financial stability. When compromised, recovering from identity theft can take years of frustrating battles with institutions that suddenly view you with suspicion rather than as a victim. In a world obsessed with oversharing, where validation comes from revealing rather than concealing, learning what to keep private has become a forgotten art. Yet this art remains essential to preserving not just your security, but your autonomy in an increasingly invasive world. The boundaries we set around our personal information aren't just about protection. They're about maintaining the sacred space of selfhood in a culture that constantly demands access to every aspect of our lives. As we dive deeper into these crucial privacy principles, if you found value in today's exploration of personal privacy, hit that subscribe button to join our community of individuals who understand that boundaries are the foundation of true freedom. As we navigate the complex digital landscape that shapes our modern existence, we must recognize an uncomfortable truth. The invisible gates that protect our virtual lives are only as strong as the passwords we create and the discretion with which we guard them. These combinations of letters, numbers, and symbols might seem insignificant, yet they stand as the final barrier between your private world and those who would exploit it for their gain. The mindset shift required here is profound. Understanding that your passwords aren't just random characters, but the embodiment of your digital sovereignty. When you share these keys, even with someone you trust, you're not simply sharing information. You're handing over the power to access your financial records, personal correspondence, and even your digital identity. This hidden truth often remains unacknowledged until the damage has been done. Consider the transformation that occurs when a password falls into the wrong hands. In an instant, your carefully constructed online presence becomes a vulnerability rather than an asset. The decision to share such critical information, often made in a moment of convenience or misplaced trust, can trigger a cascade of consequences that reshape your reality in ways you never anticipated. This journey toward better privacy practices isn't just about technical security. It extends into the most intimate corners of our lives, our relationships, the struggles, disagreements, and challenges we face with partners, family members, or close friends represent some of the most sensitive aspects of our personal narrative. These experiences, while difficult, offer profound growth opportunities when handled with care and discretion. Yet, in our sharing-obsessed culture, the boundaries around relationship privacy have eroded dramatically. What was once considered sacred is now casually exposed for public consumption, commentary, and judgment. The revelations you make about your relationship dynamics don't simply disappear into the void. They linger, influencing how others perceive not just you, but the people closest to you. Behind the scenes of every relationship are complex emotions, histories, and vulnerabilities that deserve protection. When we broadcast these private matters, we unknowingly transform them from personal growth experiences into public entertainment. This fundamental shift alters the very nature of our connections, replacing intimacy with performance. The impact of such oversharing extends far beyond momentary embarrassment. It can permanently alter relationship dynamics, breach trust, and create ripple effects that touch every aspect of your connection with others. Those who respect the private nature of relationship struggles often discover that discretion itself becomes a powerful tool for resolution and deeper understanding. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how the information we share about our future plans and aspirations can be equally dangerous in the wrong hands. But first, if anything I've shared has resonated with you so far, write "privacy protected" in the comments below. The visions we hold for our future represent the sacred architecture of our becoming. As Neville Goddard so wisely taught, what you want exists in imagination, not in the future. This profound insight reveals the delicate nature of our aspirations. They exist first as fragile seeds in the garden of our minds, requiring protection and nurturing before they can manifest in physical reality. The mindset surrounding your dreams and goals deserves particular attention in our hyper-connected world. When we prematurely share our deepest ambitions, we inadvertently expose them to energies that may not align with our vision. The revelation of your carefully crafted plans invites not just support, but also doubt, criticism, and sometimes even sabotage from those who, consciously or unconsciously, would prefer you remain exactly as you are. Consider the subtle transformation that occurs when your untested ideas meet resistance before they've had a chance to develop strength and resilience. The journey from concept to creation requires a cocoon of protection, a sacred space where possibility can develop undisturbed by external judgment. When we break this protective seal too early, we risk losing the very essence of what makes our dreams powerful, their untainted connection to our authentic desires. This principle of selective disclosure extends powerfully into another domain where boundaries are essential yet frequently violated: our health information. Your medical journey, with all its challenges, decisions, and intimate details, represents one of the most private dimensions of human experience. The confidentiality that once surrounded our health has eroded in an age where sharing has become the default rather than a conscious choice. Behind the scenes of every medical situation lies a complex tapestry of emotions, vulnerabilities, and deeply personal choices. When we casually disclose our health struggles, we often fail to recognize how this information might later be weaponized against us through discrimination, unwanted judgment, or exploitation by those who present themselves as concerned but harbor other motives. The impact of medical privacy breaches can manifest in unexpected ways, from affecting employment opportunities to altering how friends and family interact with you. Even well-intentioned sharing can lead to being defined by your condition rather than your character, creating a narrative that reduces your multidimensional self to a diagnosis or treatment plan. This protective stance isn't about shame or secrecy. It's about reclaiming your right to control your own story. It's about understanding that some chapters of your personal history deserve to be shared selectively with those who have demonstrated they deserve access to your innermost reality. The awakening to this truth often comes through painful experience, yet it represents a powerful reclamation of personal sovereignty. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by examining how the seemingly innocent sharing of your location and schedule creates vulnerabilities you might never have considered. If you've experienced the freedom that comes from protecting your personal information, type "Boundaries Matter" in the comments below. Your home represents more than just a physical structure. It is your sanctuary in a chaotic world, the sacred space where you can fully exhale and be your authentic self. The address of this sanctuary, along with the predictable patterns of when you occupy it, contains profound revelations about your life that deserve careful protection. In our sharing-focused culture, we've normalized broadcasting our whereabouts through check-ins, vacation announcements, and detailed schedule updates without recognizing the vulnerability this creates. The hidden truth lies in understanding that your location data tells a story far more intimate than you might realize. It reveals when your home sits empty, when your children are alone, when your most valuable possessions remain unguarded. This information, when pieced together by those with questionable intentions, transforms from casual social media content into a roadmap for potential intrusion, not just into your physical space, but into your sense of security and peace of mind. Behind the scenes, criminals have adapted to our digital era with remarkable sophistication. They no longer need to physically surveil a property when potential targets willingly broadcast their movements online. The mindset shift required here involves recognizing that privacy isn't paranoia. It's a form of personal protection that preserves not just your physical safety, but your psychological well-being. The power to control who knows your whereabouts represents a fundamental aspect of personal sovereignty that too many have surrendered without consideration. Subscribe now to access more insights on protecting what matters most in your life, because in a world obsessed with sharing, those who master privacy hold the true advantage. This principle of selective disclosure extends directly into the realm of your financial information, particularly your bank account details. These seemingly arbitrary numbers represent the digital gateways to everything you've worked to build throughout your life journey. The innocent digits that make up your account numbers become, in the wrong hands, the keys to your financial kingdom. What makes this particularly dangerous is the sophisticated nature of modern financial exploitation. Criminals rarely need complete information to begin their work. Even partial account details can launch a process of social engineering and targeted attacks designed to extract the missing pieces. The impact of such breaches extends far beyond immediate financial loss. It creates ripples that touch every aspect of your life, from your credit score to your ability to secure housing or employment. The awakening to this reality often comes too late after the damage has been done. Yet this knowledge represents a powerful opportunity for transformation in how you approach information sharing. By adopting a mindset that values privacy as an essential form of self-care rather than inconvenient paranoia, you reclaim control over your personal narrative and resources. These decisions about what to share and what to protect aren't simply about avoiding negative outcomes. They're about preserving the foundation upon which your security, peace of mind, and future possibilities rest. The boundaries you establish today Create the protected space in which tomorrow's opportunities can safely unfold. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by examining how casually sharing your income details creates vulnerabilities in both your professional and personal relationships. If you've experienced a moment of realization about oversharing any personal information, type "privacy awakened" in the comments below. The compensation you receive for your professional contributions represents far more than just a number on your paycheck. It embodies your market value, your negotiation skills, and often years of education, sacrifice, and strategic career decisions. Yet in casual conversation, many people thoughtlessly disclose their exact income, a revelation that carries hidden consequences few have fully considered. The transformation in your relationships that occurs after sharing income details can be subtle yet profound. Human psychology contains an unavoidable tendency toward comparison, a mental habit that can silently erode friendships, family bonds, and professional connections. Behind the scenes of seemingly innocent salary discussions, complicated emotions like jealousy, resentment, and even pity can take root, coloring interactions in ways that remain largely unacknowledged. Perhaps most concerning is how this financial transparency can reshape how others approach you. The revelation of abundance often triggers requests for loans, investment in dubious opportunities, or expectations of generosity that put you in uncomfortable positions. Conversely, disclosure of modest means can lead to exclusion from opportunities or subtle shifts in how your opinions are valued within certain circles. The mindset shift required involves recognizing that financial privacy isn't about secrecy or shame. It's about maintaining the sovereignty to navigate your relationships on equal footing. This principle extends powerfully into the realm of your investment decisions and portfolio composition. The strategies you've developed, perhaps through years of research, professional guidance, and hard-earned wisdom, represent intellectual and financial assets with real value. The journey toward financial growth often involves countless hours studying market patterns, understanding risk tolerance, and aligning investments with your unique life goals and timeline. When you casually share these carefully crafted strategies, you invite a barrage of unsolicited opinions from individuals who likely lack the context, education, or personal understanding necessary to provide valuable input. More concerning still is how detailed disclosure of your investments creates a roadmap for sophisticated financial predators. The hidden truth many fail to recognize is that scammers rarely approach with obviously fraudulent schemes. They craft proposals specifically designed to appear legitimate to your particular financial mindset, knowledge level, and portfolio composition. The impact of such targeted approaches extends beyond the potential for financial loss. It can create decision paralysis, undermine your confidence in legitimate opportunities, or push you toward excessive risk aversion after experiencing or witnessing exploitation. The awakening to this reality often comes after costly lessons that could have been avoided through thoughtful discretion. This isn't about operating from a place of fear, but rather from informed discernment about the complex ways financial information can be weaponized in today's interconnected world. By adopting a mindset that views financial privacy as an essential form of self-protection, you create the space to make decisions based on your authentic goals rather than external pressures or manipulations. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by examining how sharing details about your debts creates vulnerabilities that extend far beyond your financial life. If you've ever felt uncomfortable after sharing financial information you later wished you'd kept private, type financial boundaries in the comments below. The financial obligations we carry represent complex life decisions, educational investments, and sometimes necessary steps toward building our futures. Yet the narrative surrounding debt in our society often carries unwarranted judgment, creating a hidden minefield when we casually disclose our financial liabilities. Student loans that funded your education, mortgages that secured your home, or even temporary credit card balances all tell incomplete stories that others rarely have the context to properly interpret. The transformation in how people perceive you after learning about your debts can be subtle yet profound. Behind the scenes of polite conversation, this information triggers unconscious assessments about your financial responsibility, decision-making capabilities, and even your future prospects. What remains unacknowledged is how these judgments rarely account for the full story, the calculated risks, the unexpected life circumstances, or the strategic leverage that informed your financial choices. The mindset shift required involves recognizing that financial privacy isn't about hiding shameful secrets, but about protecting your narrative from misinterpretation. Your debt journey represents a deeply personal aspect of your financial biography, one that deserves to be shared selectively with those who have demonstrated both wisdom and goodwill. The revelation of this information changes the lens through which others view your spending choices, career decisions, and even your generosity, creating invisible constraints on your social freedom. This principle of protective discretion extends even more critically to the details of your payment methods. In our increasingly cashless society, credit cards represent direct gateways to your financial resources. The hidden truth many fail to recognize is that seemingly innocent details, the first 6 digits that identify your bank, expiration dates, or even the name printed on your card, provide valuable puzzle pieces for sophisticated criminals. The awakening to this reality often comes too late, after fraudulent charges appear or identity theft has already occurred. Modern financial exploitation doesn't require physical card theft. It operates through the methodical collection of fragments shared across different contexts and platforms. That photo with your card partially visible, the online form where you entered more information than necessary, the casual conversation where you mentioned your card type, all create vulnerability through accumulated disclosure. What makes this particularly dangerous is the false sense of security many have about partial information. Behind the sophisticated operations of modern fraudsters lies an ecosystem designed to compile, cross-reference, and complete these informational fragments. The impact extends beyond immediate financial loss. It creates ripples through your credit history, peace of mind, and the countless hours required to resolve fraudulent activity. This isn't about operating from paranoia, but from an informed understanding of how modern financial crimes actually work. By adopting a mindset that treats every digit and detail of your payment methods as valuable as physical cash, you create an essential barrier between your resources and those who would exploit them. The decisions you make about information sharing today create either vulnerability or protection for your financial future. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how your most fundamental identification information requires the highest level of protection in our digital age. If you've ever experienced or narrowly avoided financial fraud that made you more cautious about sharing your information, type "Vigilance Matters" in the comments section below. In the complex tapestry of your personal information, certain threads are so fundamental to your identity that their compromise can unravel your entire financial and legal existence. Your social security number represents perhaps the most critical of these threads, a single identifier that has, through decades of systematic integration, become the master key to your financial life. The hidden truth about this 9-digit number is that it was never designed to bear the weight of universal identification that our modern systems have placed upon it. The Transformation that occurs when this identifier falls into malicious hands is both profound and devastating. Behind the scenes of identity theft lies a cascade of violations that extends far beyond simple financial fraud. With your social security number, sophisticated criminals can open credit accounts, file fraudulent tax returns to intercept your refunds, obtain medical care under your identity, or even commit crimes while posing as you. The awakening to this reality often comes too late. When loan applications are mysteriously rejected, unknown debts appear on your credit report, or worse, legal problems arise from actions you never committed. What makes this particularly dangerous is how this single piece of information creates vulnerability that can persist for years or even decades. Unlike credit cards that can be cancelled or passwords that can be changed, your social security number remains constant throughout your life journey. The impact of its compromise isn't measured in days or weeks, but in the months and years required to untangle the complex web of fraudulent activity and restore your good name. This principle of extreme protection extends equally to the information contained on your birth certificate, the foundational document that establishes your very existence in official records. The revelations contained in this seemingly simple document, your full legal name, exact date and place of birth, and parental information, provide critical building blocks for creating entirely fraudulent identities. The mindset shift required involves recognizing that these details aren't merely administrative facts, but the cornerstone elements of your legal identity. What remains largely unacknowledged is how these basic biographical details serve as common security questions or identity verification points across countless systems. The decisions you make about sharing this information can create vulnerabilities that extend far beyond the immediate context. By approaching these foundational identity elements with a protection mindset, you create an essential barrier between your authentic identity and those who would exploit it. The sophisticated methods of modern identity thieves don't rely on obtaining complete documents at once, but rather on compiling fragments from various sources. Social media oversharing, data breaches, and seemingly innocent conversations. This patchwork approach means that even partial disclosure of your fundamental identification details contributes to your overall vulnerability. The awakening to this reality represents a crucial step in reclaiming control over your personal information and, by extension, your identity itself. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how the information on your driver's license creates unique vulnerabilities that few have fully considered. If you've become more protective of your personal identification information after learning about these risks, type "Identity secured" in the comments below. Your driver's license represents far more than just your legal ability to operate a vehicle. It has evolved into the most commonly used form of official identification in daily life. The unassuming number printed on this document carries hidden significance that most people fail to fully appreciate. This identifier, when combined with the other details on your license, creates a comprehensive identity profile that has become the trusted gateway to countless systems and services. The transformation that occurs when this information falls into the wrong hands is both insidious and far-reaching. Behind the scenes of identity theft lies a sophisticated industry where driver's license information serves as the perfect foundation for creating convincing fraudulent identification. The mindset shift required involves recognizing that this isn't merely about someone pretending to be you in a single instance. It's about the systematic hijacking of your identity across multiple contexts. What makes this particularly dangerous is how a compromised driver's license number enables fraudsters to create physical counterfeit IDs that can pass casual inspection. These tangible manifestations of identity theft enable in-person fraud that extends beyond the digital realm, from opening bank accounts to renting vehicles or properties in your name. The awakening to this reality often comes only after significant damage has been done. When unknown, financial obligations appear, when criminal activities are linked to your name, or when your legitimate license is suddenly flagged with problems you never created. This principle of rigorous protection extends even more critically to your passport information. The revelations contained within this internationally recognized document represent the highest tier of identification, trusted across borders and by authorities worldwide. The journey of compromise begins with seemingly innocent exposure, a photo shared online that reveals your passport number, casual mention of your passport details, or even the background of travel photos that expose this critical information. The impact of passport information compromise extends beyond national boundaries, creating jurisdictional complexities that make resolution particularly challenging. The hidden truth few fully understand is that international fraud involving passport details often creates legal and financial entanglements across multiple countries, each with different systems, standards, and enforcement capabilities. What remains largely unacknowledged is how this cross-border dimension creates barriers to resolution that don't exist with domestic identity theft. The decisions you make about protecting your passport information have consequences that potentially span the globe. By adopting a protection mindset that treats these details with the highest level of discretion, you create an essential barrier between your international identity and those who would exploit it for cross-border criminal activities. This isn't paranoia, it's an informed response to the reality that passport fraud represents one of the most difficult forms of identity theft to detect, stop, and resolve. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how the emerging world of biometric data creates an entirely new category of identity vulnerability, one with permanent consequences unlike any we've previously encountered. If you've become more conscious about protecting your identification documents after understanding these risks, type "Global Identity Protected" in the comments below. We now find ourselves at the frontier of a profound identity revolution, the era of biometric data, where your physical characteristics themselves have become the keys to your digital kingdom. Your fingerprints, facial structure, voice patterns, and even your iris scans represent the most intimate form of identification humanity has ever developed. The hidden truth about this information lies in its fundamental immutability. Unlike passwords or identification numbers, your biometric signatures cannot be changed if compromised. The transformation this creates in your vulnerability profile is unprecedented in human history. Behind the scenes of convenient fingerprint logins and facial recognition systems lies a sobering reality. Once your biometric data is compromised, it remains compromised for life. The mindset shift required involves recognizing that each time you provide these unique biological identifiers, you're making an irrevocable decision that carries permanent consequences. What makes this particularly concerning is the rapid proliferation of systems collecting and storing this information, often with security standards that haven't matured at the same pace as the technology itself. The revelations about how casually many organizations treat this most personal form of data should give anyone pause. From fitness apps that scan your face to building security systems that store your fingerprints, each collection point represents a potential vulnerability that, unlike other compromised credentials, can never be truly remediated. The journey toward biometric convenience brings with it an unacknowledged shadow, the creation of permanent vulnerability that follows you throughout your lifetime. by approaching these systems with informed caution rather than blind trust. You create an essential boundary around your most unchangeable personal identifiers. This isn't about rejecting technological progress, but about making conscious choices regarding which systems truly warrant access to your biological identity. This principle of careful protection extends powerfully into the realm of your online banking credentials. The digital keys to your financial accounts represent the modern equivalent of your physical vault combination, a secret that, when compromised, provides direct access to everything you've worked to build. The impact of sharing these credentials, even with trusted individuals, creates exponential rather than additive risk. What remains largely unacknowledged is how this risk multiplication works in practice. When you share access with even one trusted person, you're not simply adding one potential point of vulnerability. You're creating an entirely new branch of risk that includes every device they use, every network they connect to, and every security practice they either follow or neglect. The awakening to this reality often comes after compromise has already occurred, when questions of intent become irrelevant in the face of actual financial loss. The decisions you make about sharing these credentials reflect a fundamental choice between convenience and security, a choice with consequences that extend far beyond the immediate context. By adopting a mindset that treats your financial authentication details as absolutely private, even within close relationships, you create an essential barrier between your resources and the exponentially expanded risk that sharing creates. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how your email account has become the master key to your entire digital existence, often more critical than your financial passwords themselves. If you've recognized the importance of treating your biometric data with heightened protection, type biometric boundaries in the comments below. In our digital architecture, your email account has quietly evolved into something far more significant than just a communication tool. It has become the central nervous system of your entire online existence. The hidden truth behind this seemingly ordinary account is that it functions as the universal reset button for virtually all your other digital services. When you forget a password, where does the recovery link go? Directly to your email inbox, creating a master key that can unlock your entire digital kingdom. The transformation in vulnerability that occurs when this access point is compromised is both immediate and far-reaching. Behind the scenes of email account breaches lies a cascading disaster that few fully comprehend until they experience it. The awakening to this reality often comes too late, when social media accounts suddenly change ownership, financial services become inaccessible, or entire digital identities are systematically hijacked through the AI recovery processes designed to protect you. What makes this particularly dangerous is the persistent underestimation of email's critical role in our digital security architecture. While many diligently protect their banking passwords with complex combinations and two-factor authentication, they simultaneously use simple, reused passwords for the very email accounts that could reset all of those carefully secured services. The mindset shift required involves recognizing that your email credentials deserve the highest tier of protection, equal to or greater than your financial accounts themselves. The journey toward truly understanding email security requires acknowledging an uncomfortable truth. In designing systems focused on convenience and accessibility, we've created a single point of failure that, when breached, undermines our entire digital security framework. By approaching your email credentials with the reverence they deserve, you create an essential firewall between your digital existence and those who would systematically dismantle it. This principle of heightened protection extends equally to the physical gateway you carry with you everywhere, your smartphone. The revelations about just how much personal data resides on these devices should give anyone pause. From saved passwords and payment methods to location history and private conversations, these pocket-sized computers have become the most comprehensive repositories of personal information we've ever created. The impact of compromised phone access extends far beyond the immediate privacy violation. What remains largely unacknowledged is how a breached smartphone creates vulnerability that spans both your digital and physical worlds simultaneously. The decisions you make about securing this device, from choosing strong unlock codes to being mindful of where and with whom you share these credentials, create either a robust barrier or an open gateway to virtually every aspect of your life. Behind the simple patterns or numeric codes that guard your phone lies an entire universe of sensitive information. Financial apps with stored payment methods, email accounts with automatic login, location data revealing your daily patterns, photos containing metadata about where you've been, all protected by nothing more than a few digits or a geometric pattern that many people casually share with friends, partners, or colleagues under the guise of convenience or trust. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how your work account credentials carry unique risks that extend beyond your personal life into your professional reputation and organizational security. If you've realized just how critical your email and phone security truly are after hearing this, type Digital Fortress in the comments below. The credentials that grant you access to your workplace systems represent a unique category of digital keys. Ones that unlock not just your personal information, but entire organizational ecosystems. The hidden truth about these login details is that they create a dual vulnerability that extends far beyond your individual privacy. When you casually share or inadequately protect these credentials, you're not merely risking your own data, you're potentially exposing your entire organization to breach, compromise, and exploitation. The transformation that occurs when workplace credentials fall into the wrong hands creates ripples that touch everyone connected to your professional ecosystem. Behind the scenes of corporate data breaches often lies a single compromised account that served as the initial entry point for systemic exploitation. The awakening to this reality frequently comes with devastating professional consequences, damaged reputation, terminated employment, and in some cases, legal liability that follows you long after you've changed jobs. What makes this particularly concerning is how the boundaries between personal and professional digital spaces have blurred in our remote and hybrid work environments. The impact of credential compromise now extends seamlessly across these once separate domains. The decisions you make about protecting your work authentication details, from password complexity to where and how you access systems, create either security or vulnerability for an entire network of colleagues and clients who never consented to the risk you've introduced. This mindset shift around workplace credentials requires acknowledging an uncomfortable reality. Your digital habits at work are never truly private or personal. They represent an extension of your professional responsibility to everyone who depends on the integrity of your shared systems. By approaching your work authentication details with this elevated sense of collective accountability, you create an essential barrier between your organization's valuable assets and those who would exploit them. This principle of absolute protection reaches its pinnacle with recovery phrases for digital assets. The revelations about the permanent nature of cryptocurrency transactions have created an entirely new security paradigm, one where a single mistake or compromise can result in irrevocable financial loss. Unlike traditional banking, where fraudulent transactions can often be reversed, blockchain technology's immutability means that once assets are transferred, they cannot be retrieved without the voluntary cooperation of the recipient. The journey into digital asset ownership brings with it this sobering reality. Your recovery phrase, those seemingly random words scribbled on paper or stored in a digital vault, represent absolute ownership in its purest form. Anyone possessing these words has complete and permanent control of your assets, with no central authority capable of reversing unauthorized transactions. What remains largely unacknowledged is how this represents a fundamental departure from every other financial system humans have created throughout history. Behind the convenience of self-custody and financial sovereignty lies unprecedented personal responsibility. The hidden truth of recovery phrases is that they have no equivalent in our traditional financial experience, no password reset option, no fraud department to call, no insurance to cover theft. The decisions you make about how and where to secure these phrases create either absolute protection or catastrophic vulnerability for assets that may represent significant portions of your financial portfolio. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how the intimate details of your relationship challenges require boundaries that protect not just your privacy, but the very foundation of your most important connections. If you've recognized the critical importance of protecting your digital asset recovery phrases, type "crypto secured" in the comments below. The sacred space between two people in an intimate relationship represents one of the most vulnerable territories in human experience. Within this delicate ecosystem, disagreements inevitably arise, not as signs of failure, but as natural friction points in the beautiful complexity of two separate souls navigating life together. The hidden truth about these private disputes is that they were never meant for public consumption or external commentary. They exist within a context only the two individuals truly understand, a rich tapestry of shared history, unspoken agreements, and unique communication patterns that outsiders simply cannot fully comprehend. The transformation that occurs when relationship challenges breach the boundaries of privacy is both subtle and profound. Behind the scenes of casual conversations, where you share your partner's shortcomings or your latest argument, lies an invisible erosion of the relationship's integrity. The awakening to this reality often comes too late, when you realize that friends and family now view your partner through a permanently altered lens, even long after the issue has been resolved between you. What makes this particularly damaging is how outside perspectives, once invited in, cannot easily be removed again. The impact of well-meaning but contextless advice creates pressure that distorts the natural resolution process. The decisions you make about maintaining relationship privacy aren't about secrecy or deception. They're about creating a protected space where authentic healing and growth can occur without the weight of external judgment and expectation. This principle extends powerfully into the domain of family conflicts, where the stakes of privacy breach often spread across multiple relationships and generations. The revelation of family disagreements to those outside your kinship circle introduces complications that few fully anticipate. The mindset shift required involves recognizing that family conflicts exist within complex systems of shared history, inherited patterns, and deep emotional attachments that outsiders rarely have the context to properly interpret. What remains largely unacknowledged is how exposed family disputes create divided loyalties that can persist long after the original conflict has been resolved. When friends or acquaintances become repositories for your family grievances, they naturally form judgments and take sides, creating invisible barriers to the very reconciliation and healing you ultimately desire. Behind every shared family conflict lies the potential for permanent fractures in your support system, as people align themselves with different perspectives in a story they've only heard fragments of. The journey toward healthy family dynamics requires establishing boundaries around what remains within the family circle and what is appropriate to share externally. This isn't about hiding dysfunction or avoiding accountability, but about creating the protected space necessary for authentic resolution. The decisions you make about maintaining appropriate privacy create either barriers or pathways to eventual healing, a reality that becomes apparent only after trust has been broken or preserved. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how the delicate dynamics of friendship require similar discretion, particularly when tension or conflict emerges in these important but often fragile connections. If you've experienced the wisdom of keeping relationship challenges private rather than making them public, type relationship sanctuary in the comments below. Friendships represent some of our most chosen and therefore precious connections. Relationships we voluntarily cultivate and maintain through mutual investment and care. Within these cherished bonds, moments of tension, misunderstanding, and conflict naturally emerge as part of the authentic human experience. The hidden truth about friendship challenges is that they exist within a delicate ecosystem of shared connections, a complex web where information travels in unexpected ways and creates ripple effects far beyond the original conversation. The transformation that occurs when private friendship struggles become public gossip is both immediate and often irreversible. Behind the scenes of seemingly innocent venting sessions lies the potential for permanent social fragmentation. What makes this particularly dangerous is how quickly mutual acquaintances become unwitting participants in conflicts they never chose to engage with. The impact of such indiscretion extends beyond the immediate relationship, creating invisible divisions throughout entire social circles as people find themselves caught between competing narratives and divided loyalties. The awakening to this reality often comes with painful social consequences, invitations that suddenly stop, group dynamics that awkwardly shift, and friendships that mysteriously cool without explanation. The mindset shift required involves recognizing that temporary tensions within friendships deserve the sacred space of privacy, not to hide problems, but to create the protected container in which authentic resolution becomes possible. The decisions you make about maintaining discretion during friendship challenges reflect a fundamental respect for both the relationship itself and the broader social harmony you value. This principle extends with even greater significance into the professional realm, where relationship difficulties carry stakes that can directly impact your livelihood and career trajectory. Workplace tensions exist within uniquely constrained environments where professional boundaries, power dynamics, and organizational politics create complex challenges that require sophisticated navigation. The revelations you make about conflicts with colleagues or superiors rarely remain contained to their intended audience, instead traveling through informal networks with unpredictable speed and distortion. What remains largely unacknowledged is how casual sharing of workplace relationship struggles often transforms from simple venting into reputation-defining narratives. Behind every water-cooler conversation about your difficult boss or challenging coworker lies the potential for your own professional brand to become permanently colored by others' perception of you as difficult, uncooperative, or problematic. The journey toward effective workplace conflict resolution requires disciplined discretion about where and with whom you discuss these challenges. The hidden truth of workplace relationship struggles is that their resolution almost never occurs through widespread discussion, but rather through direct, private conversation or appropriate utilization of formal organizational channels. By approaching these situations with a mindset of contained professionalism rather than social processing, you create the optimal conditions for both resolution and career preservation. The impact of maintaining appropriate boundaries around workplace conflicts extends beyond immediate problem-solving into long-term reputation management. an asset that follows you throughout your entire professional journey. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how the shadows of past relationship traumas require particularly thoughtful boundaries, especially regarding whom you allow access to these vulnerable aspects of your personal history. If you've experienced how keeping workplace conflicts private has protected your professional reputation, type workplace wisdom in the comments below. The landscape of our past relationship wounds contains some of the most tender and vulnerable territories of our inner world. These experiences, whether from romantic partnerships, friendships, or family dynamics, leave impressions that shape how we connect with others in profound and often unconscious ways. The hidden truth about these past traumas is that they represent not just painful memories, but active forces that continue to influence your current relationships, self-perception, and emotional responses. When shared indiscriminately, these vulnerable aspects of your history can become weapons in the wrong hands or burdens for those unprepared to hold them with appropriate care. The transformation that occurs when these intimate wounds are disclosed in unsafe contexts can be subtle, yet devastating. Behind the scenes of casual oversharing lies the potential for these experiences to be minimized, misinterpreted, or even used against you during moments of conflict. What makes this particularly damaging is how the revelation of your deepest vulnerabilities creates asymmetrical power dynamics in relationships, where others possess intimate knowledge about you that they haven't earned through demonstrated trustworthiness over time. The awakening to this reality often comes through painful experiences of betrayal, when vulnerabilities shared in presumed confidence resurface in unexpected and hurtful ways. The mindset shift required involves recognizing that your psychological wounds deserve the same careful protection as physical ones. Exposure to the elements before proper healing can lead to deeper damage and delayed recovery. The decisions you make about whom to trust with your relationship trauma history reflect a fundamental act of self-respect and emotional sovereignty. This principle of protective discretion extends powerfully into the realm of your professional aspirations and strategic career planning. As Neville Goddard might observe, live in the end result mentally, but protect the bridge of incidents that leads there. This profound insight reveals the delicate nature of manifestation, how our grandest visions begin as fragile seeds that require protection from doubt, criticism, and premature exposure. The journey toward career advancement contains intimate details about your ambitions, perceived weaknesses, strategic positioning, and competitive advantages that deserve thoughtful protection. What remains largely unacknowledged is how casually sharing your specific career strategies often invites unconscious sabotage, not necessarily from malicious intent, but from the natural human tendency toward comparison, competition, and unsolicited advice. Behind every detailed career plan shared, prematurely lies the potential for your clarity to become clouded by others' projections, limitations, and well-meaning but misaligned guidance. The impact of such interference can subtly divert you from your authentic path, replacing your inner wisdom with external voices that may not share your vision or values. The revelations you make about your professional ambitions should be carefully calibrated to each specific relationship and context. This isn't about deception or secrecy, but about creating the protected space in which your authentic vision can develop strength before facing the potential headwinds of others' opinions. By approaching your career planning with this mindset of selective disclosure, you create the optimal conditions for your ambitions to manifest without unnecessary resistance or dilution. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how your unique business ideas and innovations require similar protection from premature exposure that could undermine their development or even lead to their appropriation by others. If you've experienced the wisdom of keeping your career plans private until they're ready to be revealed, type strategic silence in the comments below. In the creative landscape of your mind, unique business concepts and innovative ideas emerge as valuable intellectual assets, perhaps among the most precious currencies in our knowledge-based economy. These flashes of inspiration, carefully developed systems, or novel solutions represent far more than casual thoughts. They embody your intellectual property, the fruits of your creative vision and problem-solving abilities. The hidden truth about these business innovations is that they exist in a particularly vulnerable state before implementation or legal protection. In this embryonic phase, they can be easily appropriated, adapted or outright duplicated by others with greater resources, connections, or implementation capabilities. The transformation that occurs when breakthrough ideas are prematurely shared can be devastating to their originator. Behind the scenes of enthusiastic conversations about your next big thing lies the potential for your concepts to take flight without you as their pilot. What makes this particularly painful is how the theft of intellectual property often occurs not through malicious intent, but through casual inspiration, where someone genuinely forgets the idea originated with you and pursues it themselves, or shares it with someone better positioned to execute quickly. The awakening to this reality often comes with the bittersweet experience of seeing your unprotected concept manifested by others while you remain on the sidelines. The mindset shift required involves recognizing that your innovations deserve strategic protection, not from paranoia, but from an informed understanding of how ideas travel and evolve in our interconnected world. The decisions you make about when and with whom to share your business concepts reflect a fundamental respect for your own intellectual contributions and creative vision. This principle of protective discretion extends naturally into the domain of major life transitions, those significant inflection points that reshape your life's trajectory. Whether considering relocation to a new city, transitioning to a different career path, exploring relationship changes, or other pivotal decisions, these contemplative phases benefit enormously from selective privacy. The journey toward major life changes involves delicate internal processes of discernment, weighing options, and emotional preparation that can be easily disrupted by premature exposure and the resulting avalanche of opinions. What remains largely unacknowledged is how casually sharing your contemplated life changes invites a form of energetic interference that can cloud your clarity at critical moments. The revelations you make about these potential transitions often trigger others' projections, fears, and unresolved issues, delivered as helpful advice, but actually reflecting their own limitations and concerns rather than your highest good. Behind every prematurely shared life transition lies the potential for your authentic path to become obstructed by the well-meaning but misaligned input of those who cannot possibly understand the full context of your decision. The impact of such interference extends beyond temporary confusion into potential derailment of opportunities that require decisive action. By maintaining appropriate privacy around major life decisions until they've crystallized into certainty, you create the protected space necessary for authentic discernment. This isn't about hiding or deceiving, but about honoring the sacred process of life transition by sheltering it from unnecessary external influence until it has developed sufficient internal strength and clarity. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how your personal development goals, those intimate aspirations for self-improvement and growth, similarly benefit from thoughtful protection against premature exposure and external judgment. If you've experienced the wisdom of keeping your business ideas or life transitions private until they were ready to be shared, type Idea Protector in the comments below. The sacred journey of personal transformation represents one of the most intimate dimensions of human experience. These private aspirations for growth, healing, and self-actualization exist first as delicate seedlings in the soil of your consciousness. The hidden truth about these development goals is that they emerge from your unique life experience, personal values, and authentic calling, a constellation of factors that others, no matter how well-intentioned, cannot fully comprehend from the outside. When shared prematurely or indiscriminately, these tender aspirations become vulnerable to misalignment through external influence. The transformation that occurs when personal growth objectives are exposed to widespread commentary can subtly yet profoundly alter their trajectory. Behind the scenes of casual conversations about your self-improvement goals lies the potential for your authentic path to become contaminated by others' projections, limitations, and unprocessed issues. What makes this particularly dangerous is how external validation can gradually replace internal guidance as your primary compass, shifting your focus from genuine alignment to performance and approval seeking. The awakening to this reality often comes through the uncomfortable recognition that your growth journey has somehow drifted from its original intention, morphing instead into a reflection of others' expectations rather than your genuine calling. The mindset shift required involves recognizing that your personal development deserves a protected incubation space, not from shame or secrecy, but from the understanding that true transformation often requires a sanctuary free from premature evaluation or judgment. The decisions you make about whom to include in your growth process reflect a fundamental respect for your soul's unique evolutionary path. This principle of thoughtful privacy extends naturally into the realm of wealth-building strategies. Those specific approaches, investments, and financial disciplines you employ to create abundance in your life. The journey toward financial independence contains intimate details about your risk tolerance, timeline horizons, asset allocations, and wealth philosophy that benefit from selective disclosure. What remains largely unacknowledged is how conversations about money invariably trigger complex human emotions, envy, judgment, insecurity, or opportunism that can disrupt both your financial strategy and social harmony. Behind every detailed financial discussion lies the potential for subtle shifts in how others perceive and interact with you. The revelations you make about your wealth-building approach can unwittingly transform genuine relationships into transactional ones, where your perceived financial resources become more salient than your character or connection. Additionally, specific knowledge of your financial strategies creates vulnerability to targeted pitches, investment schemes, and subtle exploitation disguised as opportunity sharing. The impact of such financial transparency extends beyond immediate social complications into potential derailment of your carefully constructed wealth-building system. By maintaining appropriate privacy around your specific financial methodologies, you create essential protection against both external interference and the psychological pressure that comes from having your approach constantly evaluated by others. This isn't about creating artificial distance in relationships, but about establishing healthy boundaries that protect both your financial sovereignty and authentic connections. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how your health journey, particularly ongoing medical conditions, requires similar protection from unnecessary exposure that could lead to discrimination, judgment, or being defined by your diagnoses rather than your complete humanity. If you've recognized the wisdom of keeping your financial strategies private, type wealth wisdom in the comments below. Your health journey represents one of the most intimate territories of human experience, a deeply personal landscape marked by triumphs, challenges, and ongoing adaptation. When living with chronic health conditions, you navigate a complex reality that touches every dimension of your existence, yet remains largely invisible to the casual observer. The hidden truth about these health challenges is that they belong primarily to your private domain, information that deserves thoughtful protection from indiscriminate sharing. Our society's well-meaning but often reductive approach to health conditions frequently transforms people from complex individuals into walking diagnoses once their medical status becomes public knowledge. The transformation that occurs when health information is widely shared can subtly yet profoundly alter how others perceive and interact with you. Behind the scenes of casual health disclosures lies the potential for your entire identity to become filtered through the lens of your condition, where your capabilities, potential, and even basic humanity become secondary to your diagnosis in others' perception. What makes this particularly damaging is how this narrowed perception can manifest in concrete consequences. From workplace discrimination disguised as concern to social isolation masked as respect for your limitations. The awakening to this reality often comes through uncomfortable experiences of being treated fundamentally differently after health disclosures, receiving unwanted sympathy, facing lowered expectations, or being excluded from opportunities under the guise of protection. The mindset shift required involves recognizing that medical privacy isn't about shame or denial, but about maintaining your right to be seen first and foremost as a complete human being rather than a collection of symptoms. The decisions you make about whom to include in your health journey reflect a fundamental act of self-respect and narrative sovereignty. This principle of medical discretion extends with particular importance to the specific medications that comprise your treatment regimen. These prescriptions represent not just therapeutic interventions, but potential revelations about your most private health realities. The journey of medication management contains intimate details about your neurochemistry, immune function, metabolic processes, and genetic predispositions that deserve the highest level of protection. What remains largely unacknowledged is how knowledge of specific medications creates vulnerability to exploitation, judgment, and even physical risk in certain contexts. Behind the seemingly innocent disclosure of your medication list lies potential for misuse that few fully consider until they've experienced it. From medications with street value that can make you a target for theft, to prescriptions that indirectly reveal stigmatized conditions, to treatments that trigger unsolicited advice from self-appointed experts, each revelation carries consequences that extend far beyond the immediate conversation. The impact of such disclosures can range from annoying to dangerous, creating ripple effects that touch your safety, reputation, and access to unbiased treatment in various contexts. By approaching your medication information with thoughtful discretion, you create essential boundaries that protect not just your privacy, but potentially your physical safety and social well-being. This isn't about living in fear or shame regarding necessary medical interventions, but about recognizing the complex social realities that still surround many health conditions and their treatments. The revelations you make about your medication regimen should be calibrated to the specific relationship, context, and demonstrated trustworthiness of the recipient. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how your mental health experiences require particularly nuanced protection in a society that still harbors significant misunderstanding and stigma around psychological well-being. If you've recognized the importance of being selective about sharing your health information, type health sovereignty in the comments below. The landscape of mental health represents one of the most nuanced territories of human experience, a deeply personal journey of psychological well-being that touches the core of your identity, perception, and relationship with reality itself. While our society has made meaningful progress in reducing stigma around mental health challenges, a hidden truth remains. Disclosure of your specific struggles still carries real consequences in how others perceive and interact with you. The delicate balance between authentic sharing and protective boundaries requires thoughtful navigation rather than blanket transparency. The transformation that occurs when mental health information becomes widely known can subtly, yet profoundly alter your social and professional reality. Behind the scenes of well-intentioned disclosures lies the potential for everything you say or do to suddenly be interpreted through the lens of your diagnosis rather than your authentic self-expression. What makes this particularly challenging is how this filtering process often happens unconsciously, where your legitimate emotions become symptoms, your perspectives become distortions, and your very humanity becomes secondary to your diagnostic label in others' perception. The awakening to this reality often comes through painful experiences of having your voice diminished, your competence questioned, or your normal human reactions pathologized after mental health disclosures. The mindset shift required involves recognizing that selective sharing with proven allies differs dramatically from general transparency in contexts where such information may be misinterpreted or misused. The decisions you make about whom to include in your mental health journey reflect a sophisticated understanding of social reality rather than shame or secrecy about your experiences. This principle of thoughtful discretion extends with even greater significance to the realm of genetic information, perhaps the most fundamentally personal data that exists about you. The revelations contained in genetic testing results reach beyond your present reality into both your ancestral past and potential future, creating a uniquely comprehensive vulnerability when shared indiscriminately. What remains largely unacknowledged is how this information has implications not just for you individually, but potentially for biological relatives who share portions of your genetic code without having consented to its disclosure. The journey into genetic knowledge brings with it complex ethical considerations that few fully anticipate before receiving their results. Behind the seemingly innocuous sharing of genetic information lies the potential for discrimination in insurance coverage, employment opportunities, and social perception based on probabilities rather than actualities. The impact of such discrimination operates largely in the shadows, rarely explicit, but manifesting through subtle barriers and unexplained rejections that prove nearly impossible to identify or challenge directly. By approaching your genetic information with informed caution, you create essential protection not just for yourself, but potentially for family members whose genetic privacy becomes compromised through your disclosure. The hidden truth about genetic data is that once released, it cannot be recalled, creating permanent vulnerability in systems designed to maximize profit rather than human well-being. This isn't about operating from fear, but from an informed understanding of how biological information flows through social and economic systems in ways that may not serve your best interests. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how your medical procedures and treatment history similarly benefit from thoughtful privacy boundaries in a world where health information increasingly functions as a form of social currency. If you've become more protective of your personal health information after considering these perspectives, type "genetic guardian" in the comments below. The narrative of your medical journey, particularly the specific procedures, surgeries, and treatments you've undergone, represents a deeply personal chapter in your health story. These interventions, whether major surgeries or ongoing therapies, contain intimate details about your physical vulnerabilities, medical decisions, and bodily sovereignty that deserve thoughtful protection. The hidden truth about treatment histories is that they often become subject to misinterpretation and judgment when shared with those lacking medical context or expertise. What begins as casual conversation can quickly transform into unwarranted assumptions about your current capabilities, future health trajectory, or personal choices. The transformation that occurs when medical histories become topics of casual conversation often strips these experiences of their proper context and complexity. Behind the scenes of well-intentioned sharing lies the potential for permanent alterations in how others perceive your health status based on fragmented information. What makes this particularly problematic is how these medical narratives can take on lives of their own, where procedures from your distant past continue to define your present identity in others' perception, long after they've ceased to be relevant to your actual lived experience. The awakening to this reality often comes through uncomfortable moments of having your current health assessed through the distorted lens of procedures that may have occurred years ago. The mindset shift required involves recognizing that medical privacy isn't about secrecy or shame, but about maintaining control over your own health narrative in a world eager to simplify complex medical realities into reductive labels. The decisions you make about sharing your treatment history reflect a sophisticated understanding of how medical information travels and transforms in social contexts. This principle of thoughtful protection extends with particular urgency to the security measures that safeguard your home, your physical sanctuary in an unpredictable world. The specific details of your home security system, the location of hidden keys, vulnerable entry points, or times when security is disabled, represent information with immediate and potentially dangerous consequences. If shared indiscriminately, what remains largely unacknowledged is how casual conversations about home security often happen in contexts where you have limited knowledge of everyone who might be listening, or how this information might travel beyond its intended audience. The journey toward true home protection involves recognizing that security thrives in silence rather than disclosure. Behind seemingly innocent discussions about alarm systems, hidden keys, or security routines lies information that functions as a detailed blueprint for potential intruders. The impact of such disclosures extends beyond property loss into the profound violation of personal safety and psychological well-being that accompanies home intrusion. By approaching security details with disciplined discretion, you create an essential barrier between your sanctuary and those who might exploit knowledge of its vulnerabilities. The hidden truth about home security is that its effectiveness depends significantly on information control, where even partial details about your protective measures can compromise their entire function. The transformative realization here involves understanding that true security operates largely in the shadows, where ambiguity about your specific measures creates a protective uncertainty that deters rather than invites intrusion. This isn't about operating from fear, but from an informed understanding of how security breaches actually occur, rarely through random chance, but through the methodical exploitation of known vulnerabilities. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how the predictable patterns of your daily movements create another form of vulnerability that deserves thoughtful protection in an increasingly transparent world. If you've become more conscious about protecting your home security information after considering these perspectives, type Security Sentinel in the comments below. The rhythmic patterns of your daily life. When you leave home, when you return, Which days your property sits empty. Create a predictable choreography that appears innocuous until viewed through the lens of security consciousness. These seemingly mundane details of your regular schedule represent a vulnerability blueprint that skilled opportunists actively seek to discover. The hidden truth about schedule information is that it transforms ordinary knowledge into a tactical advantage for those with questionable intentions. What appears as casual conversation about your workday, gym routine, or weekly commitments actually reveals precisely when your home becomes an unprotected target. The awakening to this reality often comes only after experiencing a violation that seems suspiciously well-timed with your absence. Behind the scenes of coincidental break-ins lies the methodical collection of schedule intelligence pieced together from social media updates, casual mentions of routines, or even observable patterns for those paying attention. What makes this particularly dangerous is how this information gathering happens invisibly, often from sources you'd never suspect, or through platforms where you've normalized sharing your whereabouts without consideration of who might be watching. The mindset shift required involves recognizing that schedule privacy isn't about paranoia, but about disrupting the reconnaissance process that precedes most property crimes. By introducing unpredictability into your routine, disclosures, and being selective about whom you inform of extended absences, you create an essential barrier against targeted vulnerability. The decisions you make about sharing your movements reflect a sophisticated understanding of how seemingly disconnected information fragments can be assembled into a comprehensive security threat. This principle extends with particular urgency into the digital realm, where location sharing settings have transformed privacy from a default state into something that requires active protection. Your real-time geographical coordinates represent incredibly sensitive information that creates vulnerability in both physical and digital contexts. As Neville Goddard might have observed, your attention is your most precious resource. And in our hyper-connected era, your location data has become a commodity that countless entities seek to capture, analyze, and monetize. What remains largely unacknowledged is how casually we've surrendered this profound privacy through app permissions, social media check-ins, and photo geotags without fully considering the implications. The transformation from location privacy to continuous broadcasting happened so gradually that many never experienced the revelatory moment of realizing just how visible they've become. Behind the convenient features of location sharing lies a comprehensive tracking system that creates digital footprints more detailed and permanent than any physical surveillance could achieve. The journey toward location privacy begins with a fundamental audit of which applications and individuals currently have access to your real-time coordinates. The impact of such access extends beyond immediate safety concerns into more subtle realms of psychological autonomy and freedom of movement. By approaching location sharing as a deliberate conscious choice rather than a default permission, you reclaim essential sovereignty over your physical presence in the world. This isn't about digital isolation, but about creating intentional boundaries around information that create significant vulnerability when misused. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how these 7 categories of personal information interconnect to create either comprehensive protection or cascading vulnerability, depending on how thoughtfully you manage their disclosure. If you've become more aware of how your location data creates a digital vulnerability footprint, type location privacy in the comments below. As we've journeyed together through these 7 categories of personal information, I hope you've experienced that subtle yet powerful shift in awareness, that moment when seemingly innocent sharing transforms into conscious protection of what's most valuable in your life. The boundaries you establish today create the foundation for your privacy, security, and personal sovereignty tomorrow. If this conversation has illuminated aspects of your information sharing that you hadn't previously considered, I'd love to continue this journey with you. Subscribe to join our community of mindful individuals who understand that in a world obsessed with transparency, thoughtful discretion has become a rare and precious skill. This exploration represents just the beginning of a deeper conversation about creating sanctuary in an increasingly invasive world. If these insights resonated with your experience, take a moment to leave a like. It helps these protective perspectives reach others who might benefit from them as well. I'd love to know which of these 7 categories prompted the strongest realization for you. If you've made it all the way through this journey with me, type "privacy protected" in the comments. I personally read through them and value hearing about your experiences. There's a video right here that complements what we've discussed today, exploring how to create digital boundaries that protect your online identity without sacrificing genuine connection. Click and continue this conversation with me there, because the wisdom you've gained deserves to be expanded into every domain of your life. Until next time, remember that your information belongs first and foremost to you, and the boundaries you establish today create the protected space in which your authentic self can truly flourish.